Hello, I'm so excited you're here. So episode 11 Q&A is what we're talking about today. And I am freezing. I don't know if where you live, but I am here in Washington. It is so cold. Winter is definitely upon us. I just did a live video over on Instagram. So if you're not following me over there, let me put up my Instagram link so you can come visit me there. So if you're not following me over on Instagram, I am doing a goal setting, like daily challenge, but daily meaning just Monday through Friday. So I'm doing an Instagram challenge over there. But episode number 11 is something that I really love to talk about. So it is the organizational stuff. So how do I organize all the junk in my office? I don't know if you could relate to this, but if you could see these two spots in my office, they're both countertops. There's a lot of stuff on there because there's a lot of stuff I'm working on. So what I love about this episode is I talk about how to organize a small space, start small. Now, if you have time, if you are somebody that can finish something in I guess maybe if you're just a finisher, if you're somebody who can finish something in the same day, then maybe you can pull everything out, but it can just be really overwhelming to just do everything all at once. And so what I like to do is start small. So I'll start with a drawer or a cabinet or, because there's cabinetry all up above my office here. So what I like to do is start small. So if I'm like, hey, this space isn't working for me right now. In fact, there's one right above my head that I'm like, I really need to rework that because it's pretty much a mess. So just taking everything out and starting small with that space. You want to assess everything that you've purged out of that space. So once everything is out of that drawer, cabinet, whatever that you're working on, you want to spread it out, take a look at what you don't need. Whatever you don't need, pass it on to the next person, throw it in the garbage if it's broken, whatever you need to do, get it out of that space because you're not going to be using it. So why clutter up your prime real estate with that stuff? Then you want to go to my favorite place in the entire world, the Container Store. You can also get stuff from Target as well as Amazon. Those are two other places that I like to go to get organizational stuff. But here's something that I've really figured out over the time because once you buy all the stuff, you really need to live with it for a while because there have been times that I have, put a system together and then I've lived with it for a little while and then I'm like, no, that's not working for me. I need to adjust it. So what I do is I keep the labels on the containers. Now, obviously you're not going to do this for years, right? I mean, because you want to be able to return it within the recommended time frame so you can get your money back. But I live with the labels in that system for a little while and then I go ahead and remove them once I know that it's like set. But I also love the ability to be able to tweak it. Or sometimes if I need to go purchase additional containers because, maybe I need to separate something a little bit more than I originally thought, something like that. So it gives me the flexibility of being able to swap out the containers, getting my money back so I can purchase the right containers that I know will work for me. And one thing too that I didn't mention during the podcast is that I always go back to these spaces after I've lived with them for quite a while. So, these systems were working at the time. I go back and I revisit it and say, okay, is this really truly still working for me? Do I need to overhaul this? Do I need to change it? That was something that I recently did in my kitchen silverware drawer. And I know this, primarily we focus on business stuff here, but I think that your home, your space, especially if you're still under lockdown in COVID, I think that this can be a huge thing for people is that you start noticing the spaces that are not working well for you, whether that's your office, whether that's in your bedroom, whether that's a place that you're creating routines or you're spending a lot of time in your routines. These are the things that kind of start to become glaringly obvious that you need to change. So that's why I mention it. I know it's not like typical business stuff, but I still think it's important to mention that you might need to revisit spaces. You might need to redo them essentially. But the nice thing is that what I do is I have the same acrylic containers. That's why I always go to the Container Store because I always know I can find the exact same thing, even if it's years and years later, is that they still have those same containers. They still have the same sizes. They still have the same brand. Like none of that stuff changes. And I feel like sometimes with Amazon or Target, sometimes that can happen. There is a Sterilite brand of drawers that I use like everywhere, office, home, like all over the place. And those have been pretty consistent. However, like right now it's like, you got to get one from one spot and one from another store. And it's annoying. But anyways, just know that you can, whatever system you're using, find it in a place that is going to be consistent, because if you have to go back and revisit that space, you might need those same containers, only a different configuration of them. So that's something to keep in mind when you are looking at, changing up a space. The other thing too, I wanted to show you, because I think this is kind of cool. Now this might be kind of a mess, but this is my Lazy Susan. Sorry, the light is reflecting. So I have my blue light glasses, Post-it notes, missing Post-it notes, my timers, my business cards, some pens that need refills. So this is just a Lazy Susan. Now this is obviously found in the kitchen aisle, but that lives underneath my phone. And whenever I need anything, I can just turn it and get what I need. So you might give some thought to thinking outside the box on your organizational containers, things that you might need, because I would have never thought of using a Lazy Susan in my office, but it's perfect because these are all things that I need easy access to, but I don't want them cluttering up my entire, if I spread them all out in a line, that would be a lot of stuff. So I like the Lazy Susan, and they come in all different sizes too. So like I have a phone stand that sits over the top of it. But if you need something specific, like you're like, I use these things all the time. For example, like in your morning routine, I have an acrylic stacker essentially that I use, and I put everything for my morning routine in that stacker. So you could do the same thing with the Lazy Susan. Like if there's certain things that you use for a project every single time you do the project, make it work for you. Make those tools easy access so it makes you more efficient, because you're going to be able to spend more time and, more importantly, less mental energy on, trying to find your junk to do your project. I mean, isn't that the most frustrating part when your stuff's not organized and you're like, I need that one black Sharpie, the fine tip, not the fat one, for this one thing that I need to do. I mean, that's probably an extreme example, but you know what I mean? Like there's just some things that if you made them easy access, you made them easier to get to, it would streamline your day. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I've been blathering on for way too long because we're already like 9 minutes into this live video, but I just wanted to share those couple things with you. If you want more information about episode 11, make sure that you check it out on my podcast. So that is anywhere that you listen to podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, any of those, it's available. So check it out. Let me know what you think. I hope you have a great Friday, and I will see you next week for what I learned about this week. Okay? See you then.